Hey, what's up YouTube fam? Welcome back to another episode, and today I'm going to show you a brand new way to wholesale real estate in 2024 that you've probably never heard of before. This is a completely different approach to traditional wholesaling, and it's the exact same approach that I used to lock in a $13,000 wholesale fee on a deal I closed in Chattanooga, Tennessee just a couple weeks ago. Now, what makes this model even better is that you don't have to go out and source your own buyer anymore. You can utilize the MLS and have all of the very best qualified buyers for your deal raising their hand, begging you to accept their offer because they're going to outbid or pay the most money. Like, how good does that sound? So don't go anywhere and stay locked into the video, okay? Because today you're gonna learn everything you need to know on how you can go and start locking up these deals for yourself. And if you haven't already, you know the drill. Smash that like button, hit the notification bell, and if you get any value from the video today, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps me continue to reach more people and grow this thing into a resource to where anybody who's interested in growing financial freedom through real estate can use along their way to that financial freedom. The best wholesaling strategy you can use going forward in 2024 is Novations. Now, you may or may not have heard of the term novations, but to start, what you need to know is that the word novation, or to novate something, simply means to just replace one contract with a different or new contract, okay? Because that's literally what you're doing when you do these types of deals. You are going to be putting the property under contract like you're normally used to doing, but instead of assigning that contract to an end buyer, you're actually replacing your contract with an end buyer's new contract that they submit. Simple enough. That's the simplest way I can put it for novations without confusing you or adding a bunch of complex terminology and stuff on top. We'll get there, but basic definition for you. Now, one of the key differences with novations is that instead of having to go find just cash buyers to assign the deal to, we can actually put the property on the MLS and get a bigger buyer pool of people and actually use end buyers who are homestead buyers looking to use traditional financing and bank loans to buy these properties, okay? And now I know what you're already thinking. I can already hear the doubters in the comments. You're saying things like, well, Cedric,
why would the seller ever agree to a novation deal?
That doesn't make sense. Why couldn't they just hire a realtor by themselves and sell it on the market for more money? You gotta realize that the number one reason someone's going to consider doing this is convenience. Now, I don't know if you've ever sold a home personally before, but it can be really stressful and honestly really time consuming. Even if you have a realtor involved and you hire an agent to do a lot of that process for you. A lot of people don't take into consideration things like prepping the home for listing, okay? You have to clean the entire house. You have to start packing your items up. You have to fix any immediate repairs that might need to be done before you even put it on the market for sale. Not to mention all the upfront costs, right? Like, everybody knows it costs money to sell your house. So real estate agent commissions, closing costs, transfer tax, excise tax, all these fees that you have to pay at closing that also come out of your proceeds. There's also tons of hidden costs that a lot of people don't know about, right? So when it comes time to get the very best photography for your home for marketing, you're gonna have to pay for that. Your realtor doesn't cover those costs for you. If you need to get the home professionally staged before you get the pictures taken, you also have to pay for that, okay? There's all of these hidden costs that also add up as a homeowner that you end up paying just to get the home on the market to hopefully get a higher price for it. And then obviously one of the things that doesn't cost any money, but that causes the most stress is just the overall communication of it all. Like constant back and forth phone calls, texts, emails between yourself and an agent when it comes to negotiating offers, signing agreements, preparing everything and choosing timelines and dates and deadlines. Some people, it's just way too much to juggle with the everyday other stuff they have going on in their life, okay? So that's the reason why someone may consider selling at a slight discount in exchange for having a company like us facilitate the entire transaction for them. Someone who's going to be willing to take on the burden of hiring the agents, scheduling all of the marketing, paying for any repairs that need to come up during inspections, covering all those closing costs, and just delivering a silver platter experience, a red carpet experience where they just get the end result on a silver platter delivered to them, which is just the cash in their pocket at closing. Don't disqualify this type of deal. Don't disqualify these types of sellers before you try it out for yourself and you watch the rest of this video to learn exactly how the process is done. It's also a bonus for us because a lot of times we can get these deals done quicker and get them sold for way more money because we utilize realtors in the MLS to get a larger buyer pool, okay? And since we're marketing to more buyers who are qualified with traditional financing, we can typically get these deals sold quicker and for more money. And since we get them sold for more money, we pass that on to the seller every single time. We can basically offer more money than any traditional fix and flipper or cash buyer or wholesaler would. So since we sell them for more money, we can pass that extra revenue on to the seller. They get more money. It's a win-win situation for everybody, and it's a much smoother and enjoyable process. Now let me show you what the full process looks like in depth with that real life example of the Chattanooga deal I closed a couple weeks ago back in May. So I don't know if you can see this, but on that deal, we made $13,000. It was $13,465 to be exact. Here's the check, right? So we closed that on May 16th. It was a novation deal in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We originally approached the seller like a traditional wholesaler would, okay? We still approach these leads all the same. We pitch them as cash, we qualify the lead. Unfortunately, our cash offer was too low for the seller. Originally, we offered her $180,000 for the property as is. It was too low for her, but she was still motivated to sell. Her brother-in-law was living in the property. She wasn't really renting it traditionally as a landlord. He was more just taking care of it, but he was getting ready to move. She was elderly, her husband was elderly. They didn't want to be landlords or deal with the property anymore. So luckily, we knew this strategy. We were able to pivot and turn it into a novation. The house was in relatively move-in ready condition. No major repairs needed to be done. So we were able to determine the market value of the property. It was about $320,000, we assumed. We turned it into a novation and were able to offer the seller $265,000, okay? So we were able to come up over 80 grand in our purchase price, beat out every other cash buyer they've been talking with. And we ended up listing it on the market with a local realtor for $320,000. After we sat on the market for about 3 weeks, we found a buyer who agreed to pay $302,500 for the property, okay? Now the magic in this, once again, was this wasn't a cash buyer who was gonna flip the house. This person was actually moving to Tennessee from Hawaii. He was getting a mortgage, he was gonna live in the home, and he was working with a local credit union to get his financing done. We went through inspections, we had a couple negotiations there. We ended up giving the seller a small credit for some repairs that needed to be made, and we ended up also paying for a year-long home warranty for the buyer as well, okay? So we took care of all of the credits, all of the closing costs, all of the realtor commissions out of our pocket. Once we closed, the seller still got their $265,000. All of the closing fees were taken out of our proceeds, and we were left with a $13,000 payday when it was all said and done. Now, I know after that story, you're probably thinking you just want to run out the door and start locking up novations like a pro. But first, you want to ask yourself, like, what are the perfect sellers that I want to go and pitch this to make sure it's a profitable deal? Now, the number one thing we want to realize is that novations work best for a lot of the sellers that you're already speaking with on a day-to-day basis. Think tired landlords, divorced sellers, people who have probate properties or inheritance properties, people with maybe tax lien problems, things like that. Now, typically the motivation is still pretty high for these sellers, okay? But on the flip side, they're usually maybe asking a little bit higher of an asking price for the home, or the property isn't in as distressed enough condition to justify you getting it at the discount you need to make it work for a wholesale deal, okay? Typically, we're buying wholesale properties anywhere from like 40 to 60 cents on the dollar to make it make sense. Well, that eliminates a lot of the prospects that we speak with. Some people are just as motivated, but maybe they're asking a slightly higher price. Maybe it's still a discount and it's not full retail value, but if you can't get it on 50 cents at the dollar, a lot of people are just throwing those leads away. You can take that same exact deal, put it on the MLS at current market value and novate it and make a good spread on a lot of these deals, okay? So if you think real hard, I bet you can think back to someone you've spoken with in the past 30 days who's in your database or in your CRM that you disqualified or threw away because you thought it wasn't a deal, because they were either asking too much money or the home wasn't in bad enough condition to make sense. Go back and hit those people up, because those are your novation deals right there. Now, before you start going out and killing it with all the contracts you're gonna be getting, let me give you a couple key pointers for success, okay? The number one key thing to be successful at these novation deals is transparency. You have to be upfront and transparent with the seller when you're getting the contract signed about what you're gonna be doing with the property. You have to let them know that you're not gonna be the end buyer. You're gonna facilitate the transaction and find a third-party buyer for them who's going to pay a higher price. You have to tell them it's going to be listed on the market, okay? The more honesty you work with in these transactions, the better. If you don't be transparent and the seller finds out you put it on the market and you weren't honest with them, you can find yourself in a lot of big trouble, and I don't want that to happen to you. Number two is make sure you're interviewing and speaking with local agents to list your novation deals, okay? Don't go just hire any run-of-the-mill agent. Don't look somebody up online and just go with the first option you find. Make sure you're interviewing and talking with local agents in that market, because they're gonna be the ones who give you the best opportunity at getting it sold quick and pricing it right. Okay. And number three, always make sure you do your due diligence when you're picking your title company, okay? Before you go and put that home on the market and go and sign a purchase agreement with the seller, make sure that the title company you choose to go with is okay with doing these types of novation deals. Ask them straight up when you call them if they've done novations before, if they're comfortable with closing these types of transactions and insuring these types of transactions, and getting that lined up before you go and start listing the property or putting it under contract is gonna save you such a headache before you get too far down the road to closing. Follow all of this advice and you'll be well on your way to locking up 5-figure wholesale fees every single month, I promise you. Once again, consider subscribing to the channel to stay up to date on more wholesaling and real estate investing videos. Always remember that freedom isn't free, and financial freedom is the cornerstone to achieving overall freedom in all walks and areas of life. So I wish you the best on your journey to financial freedom. I'm gonna continue mine. I hope to see you on the next video. Continue grinding, and I will see you on the next one. All right? Peace.